Representatives has officially inaugurated the ad hoc committee on the oversight of the administration of Rivers State, while it follows the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu on March 18. Tajuddin Abbas emphasized that the current caretaker administration in Rivers State is an interim measure and is not an instrument of political vendetta. The primary responsibility of the 21-member committee is to monitor the administration of the state during the emergency period, ensuring adherence to federal directives and safeguarding public interest. Abbas says the success of the committee will serve as a litmus test for the National Assembly's capacity to uphold democratic governance under extraordinary circumstances. Well, joining me now to examine the state of emergency in Rivers State and focusing on who is truly carrying out legislative oversight over the sole administrator is lawyer Wayne Elijah. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
on
having me.
Newsnight. Well, first, let's establish your thoughts on the state of emergency that was put in place since March 18 and how that is going so far.
The state of emergency that was put in place literally is a constitutional power that can be exercised by the president under section 305 sub 5 of the 1999 constitution. However, the appointment of a sole administration or administrator, as they put it, is totally unknown to law. It's an aberration. It is an unconstitutional act. It is even an act that can even make the National Assembly commence removal proceedings against Mr. President, because that is a gross misconduct against section 1 subsection 3 of the 1999 constitution.
What does that section say? It
says that no part of the federation shall be taken over or governed in any manner whatsoever that is not in accordance with the 1999 constitution. The appointment of a sole administrator is unknown to the constitution. It is even very, very appalling that we have a lot of legal mind around Mr. President, and none of them can call Mr. President to order and say, Mr. President, can I advise you as a lawyer? Please, this act is very unconstitutional. If it was to be in a real democratic system where we have real opposition in the National Assembly, this wouldn't even have lasted 24 hours.
Are you saying we're not operating?
I'm saying it categorically
real
here.
Democracy.
Yes, I'm saying it categorically here, and this is my personal view, that the National Assembly of Nigeria has failed woefully in its principal and primary responsibility as the people representing Nigeria in Parliament. You don't do this in a real country where things are working fine. The National Assembly, the 360 House of Representative members and 109 Senate members who are seated there with their babariga and their suits are not doing the real thing. They are failed woefully in their principal and primary responsibility in ensuring that the 1999 Constitution is not raped.
What could the National Assembly have done in the circumstances
First
where
of all,
you had the situation?
They would have rejected the proclamation outrightly, because what I saw and what we all Nigerians saw was they made an attempt to make an amendment to an officially gazetted proclamation. It is there's no provision in the constitution. Look at section 305 from sub 1 to sub 6. There's no provision where the National Assembly was given the permission by law to look at the official gazette and say, I want to amend some things in the proclamation of the state of emergency. No, it is either you outrightly accept it or you outrightly reject it. They now said there should be a reconciliation committee, that the Mr. President should amend it to include reconciliation committee, that they should also look at it if they can make it less than 6 months,
right.
And then they now did a voice voting.
That's all out there. Now with this appointment of a 21-member committee to oversee the actions or maybe even inactions of the sole administrator in Rivers State presently, is that not the National Assembly trying to do something? What do you think about, what's your thoughts on this setup?
In fact, you cannot, because illegality bears illegality. You cannot try to legitimize anything that was born out of illegality. The entire process is unlawful, the entire process is illegal, the entire process is completely and purely unconstitutional. As it is, by virtue of section 4, subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution, the National Assembly can exercise the power of a state house of assembly. In an event where a state house of assembly can no longer function, the National Assembly oversees the functions of that state house of assembly. But the question is this: right. Is the state house of assembly now, is it properly and constitutionally not functioning? No. Now, why did I say no? I said no because the president does not have the constitutional powers to suspend the governor. In fact, nobody has the power to suspend the president. Nobody has the power to suspend the vice president. Nobody has the power to suspend the governor. Nobody has the power to suspend the deputy governor.
Now that the deed has been done, since
the deed that has been done is an action that is unknown. The truth is this: it is just power tussle that we are seeing. The governor of Rivers State remain Governor Sim Fubara till tomorrow. Nobody can remove that.
The government acknowledges that.
And as it is now, what is happening in Rivers State cannot happen in the north. You know why? Because Mr. President knows that the people that are enabling this, both those that are saying protest and those against it, are those people who have enablers within the system. The people that are supposed to come together and resist this aberration are not coming together. Some people are saying yes.
But don't you think that, I mean, every Nigerian has a right to, you know, decide on which side of the divide?
Of course. They're exercising their fundamental human rights. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but that is another thing that hurts me to the fullest, because I look at the country, and the question I could just ask myself is this. You're seeing that your house is on fire, but because of the maliciousness in your heart, you decide that that fire should continue to burn and you don't care. And honestly speaking, if we don't get it right in this country, what happened in 1962, the then Prime Minister in the former Western Nigeria declared a state of emergency and removed an elected body, and now appointed military persons who in 1966 now had the morale and the courage and said, after all, we can wake up one day and make a pronouncement on TV that I hereby suspend so person, and after making that pronouncement, I'll take over. Yes.
Well, I want to believe Nigeria has moved way beyond all of that. Now, what do we do with the situation at hand?
As it is.
With this 21-member committee set up, ad hoc committee on the oversight of the administration of the sole administrator.
As it is.
What are your expectations?
No. As it is. The truth is this. It's already a script. Right. I believe that they already have this sorted out since. They have all
What's script now?
The script is there because all the members are all there. As per, let's just be there. Anyhow it is. It has already happened. It has already happened. So if I'm nominated and appointed as a member or as a person chairing this member or this panel, fine and good, let's all be there. But the truth is this. Is it constitutionally correct? No, it is not constitutionally correct. That body itself is an illegality ab initio. You cannot create a legality out of an illegality. Now as it is, the only thing is for any person with peculiar interest, like the governor, to take that committee and that body to court, to declare it unconstitutional, to declare it illegal, and to declare it unlawful. As it is now, the truth is this. The court is folding his hands and watching. Why did Mr. President say that this proclamation does not affect the judiciary? Right. Because he knows that how can it affect the judiciary? It can never affect the judiciary. How can you, as a legislative arm of government, how can you, as a legislative arm of government, the River State House of Assembly, has not even complained for once? In fact, let me even say this on TV now. I personally have this notion that they might have even known, because they already went on a perpetual recession before the
proclamation. You're talking about the State Assembly
members.
Yes,
they already went.
Who are on break now.
Yes,
right.
They went on break before. So it's more like, are you suspending us from acting when we are already perpetually on break? So it's more like they were not active as at the time of the proclamation. So somebody now will ask and say, what are we actually fighting for?
So in other words, what you're saying that this 21-member committee to oversee the activities of the sole administrator is a non-starter. That's what you're saying?
No, it's not.
All right, we'll have to leave it there.
The National Assembly, sorry, let me end with this.
Very quickly.
The National Assembly should wake up to their principal and primary responsibility of overseeing the government, especially executive lawlessness, to ensure that the 1999 Constitution is not thrown under the bus. Because the truth is this, our future generations, the children coming behind, we ahead of us, we look and say, and the question they will ask is this, where were you when the Constitution was being raped and nobody came out to speak up? That is the question all the members of the National Assembly as a whole should ask themselves.
Right. Okay. I hope you have an answer for that generation when they ask.